Before his wife of almost 10 years, Karen, called with disturbing news, Jason Chandler was sitting on the couch, glued to his phone. Karen's dishonesty had previously been exposed by a private investigator. Contrary to what she claimed, she was traveling to Honolulu with her lover. After 10 years of their relationship being destroyed by her deception, Jason reflected on his gullibility. He sipped his coffee and leaned back, thinking about their past. 13 years ago, while both were pursuing business degrees, they met in college. They became married after their romance blossomed. After graduating, Jason started working for his father's tire company, where he eventually rose to the position of head of accounting. His goal was to succeed retiring CFO Mike Allen and inherit the business from his father. Karen pursued a career as a realtor after getting married, succeeding even in challenging market conditions. They appeared to be content in their marriage and led a comfortable life with a lovely home and brand new cars. He considered it a blessing that they were childless. At first, Karen cited infertility and chose tubal ligation. She suggested adoption but refused. Her increased social engagements lately, particularly her tardy homecomings, aroused his suspicions. He voiced his concerns, but she dismissed them, blaming her absences on work-related stress. "Why did you leave so late?" When she came home one evening, looking unkempt and with a cigarette odor still clinging to her clothing, he asked. She said defensively, "Just hanging out, having a few drinks, Jace, it's my business. I am capable of caring for myself." Her tone surprised Jason because it was different from how she usually spoke. She softened when she saw his response. She said, "I'm sorry, Jace. I'm just getting overwhelmed by work-related stress." He noted that you have previously managed market pressures without this. "What's altered?" "Out there, it's harder than ever," she said. "The pressure is constant and the competition is intense." He assured her, "I understand, but don't take it out on me." She gave him a remorseful hug and said, "I'm on your side. I apologize, you're right, sweetie, sure, but get some fresh air," he said. "You smell like smoke." She apologized and said, it was smoky at the club. Before taking a shower, she went to bed with him, but he was already asleep. Their frequency of intimacy gradually decreased from multiple times per week to hardly once every 2 weeks. He became aware of her obvious lies, such as the day she claimed to be at the office when she wasn't, and her lack of interest in his life diminished. Sensing that she might react explosively, he did not approach her. How many more lies could she have told? He wondered. He lay awake next to her and looked at her, clearly worried. "What are you thinking about, Jace?" she asked. "I'm concerned," he said. "What about?" she asked. "Us," he admitted. "We seem to be drifting apart. Are you still in love with me?" "Of course," she assured him, holding him close. "I assume you are aware of that." "I really don't know," he admitted. "You haven't said it in a long time, and our intimacy has diminished. You spend more time out than at home." "I'm sorry," she said. "Work has been too much, but I still adore you." "Have faith in me," he asked, "can you show me more?" She kissed him. "Of course, baby," she said. That evening, they made love, momentarily allaying Jason's anxieties, but worries persisted. After a month, the cycle was repeated. Jason started to have more serious suspicions. His friend Ron once requested an urgent meeting. Jason said, "Sure, let's get a beer." Ron insisted that I couldn't explain over the phone. When they first met at the bar, Ron revealed something shocking. Ron revealed, "I saw your wife today." Jason shrugged. "Yeah, she's in real estate, showing houses, I'm sure," Ron said, "but I had no idea real estate required such intimacy." "Really?" Jason cried out. "You have to be joking," Ron sighed. "I wish I were. I caught Karen kissing and holding hands with another man." "It wasn't a harmless thing." "That's not possible," Jason objected. "Do you think Karen was the person?" Ron confirmed his suspicions by showing him a picture. Jason muttered, damn, and requested a copy of the photo. Of course, Ron said, forwarding it. What are you going to do? I don't know, Jason said. I was caught off guard by this. Ron said, my friend's a PI. Do you want me to put you in touch? Jason asked, please do. I require answers. Jason found Karen at home after they had parted ways. Surprised, he said, you're back early. Her smile came just in time. You were where? He explained that he was drinking with Ron. Is everything good with your friend? Not really, Jason said. His spouse has cheated on him. Oh. Karen pretended to be innocent. Yeah, Jason said. I'm glad we don't have that nightmare. Jason wasn't blind to Karen's response. If you ever betrayed me, it would crush me, he said, noticing her faint flinch. She embraced him and promised that she would never betray him. You are too dear to me. He kissed her and said, I'm glad to hear that. Why do you arrive home early? This weekend is the first day of our company's convention, she said. Before we part ways, I wanted to spend some time with you and pack early. Where is it held? He asked. She replied, Las Vegas, at the Westgate Resort Hotel. After lunch on Friday, we depart. Given her prior accomplishments, he inquired about another award this year. I guess, she said. He proposed that they celebrate their anniversary in Vegas after they shared another kiss. Citing work commitments, she declined. Dejected, he consented to celebrate at a later time. He asked Ron for a PI recommendation the following day. He met with the investigator before lunch. In his messy office, the investigator said, Good morning, Mr. Chandler. Ron said, I'm glad to meet you. Tell me, Jerry, what's up? Jason told him about Karen's trip to Vegas. What, Vegas? Jerry thought, do you believe she's planning something there? Maybe, Jason said. Jerry said, I've got contacts there who owe me favors. If you give me a room number, we can set up surveillance and keep an eye on her. It will be more expensive. Jason nodded as he expected. However, I must know the truth. He was given a digital audio recorder by Jerry. Simple to use, just slide it beneath her car seat, turn on the voice control, and take it out later. According to Jason, she typically parks at the airport. Jerry nodded, perfect. We'll take care of it. We'll know if she makes a mistake. For updates, please use my private line. Jason took the number and said, thank you. Jason wrote a check from his personal account rather than the joint one and said, thank you. They agreed to set aside up to 10% of their earnings in separate personal accounts. Jason had been saving for a cruise, but he usually spent his money on clothes and presents for Karen. Karen packed for the trip that evening. Jason saw that she had too much luggage and offered to help. She had previously claimed tubal ligation, but when he peered inside out of curiosity, he discovered birth control pills. He took pictures of her possessions, noticing that she was wearing club clothes and skimpy bikinis, including an open micro bikini that he had never seen her in. Before locking up, he made sure the audio recorder was turned on and placed it in her car in a discreet manner. As their intimacy as husband and wife waned, Jason thought sadly that this might be the last time. Karen promised nightly calls and gave her hotel room number the following morning. She kissed him and said, I love you. As he watched her drive away, he said, I love you too. He told Jerry Karen's room number at work. Thank you, Jerry acknowledged, prepared to send out his team. Karen later called from the airport to give him an update when he checked in. I love you, she said again. He muttered to himself, love you too, baby, trying to hide his skepticism. Jason confided in his father after he noticed his distress and came over. His father sympathized, that's rough, son, I never thought of it. Jason said, same here, Dad. His father said, we're here if you need us. I appreciate it, Jason. Thank you, Dad. He left work early and went to the airport to retrieve the audio recorder from Karen's car. The car was clean. But there was still uncertainty. Karen called while we were driving home. Hey, I just arrived, she told him. I appreciate you telling me, he said. Just getting settled, she added. Love you, I'll give you a call tonight. He said, I love you too. He turned on the audio recorder at home in the hopes of finding nothing that would implicate him. Her radio and traffic noise predominated. But halfway through, reality set in. He used Bluetooth to hear what she was saying. The voice of a man said, Hey, baby. She flirted, Hello, stallion, a muffin with studs. Jason snorted to himself. Who is this clown? Last week was fantastic, the man said. She laughed and said, I'm glad you liked it. What are your plans for next week? It's already planned, he said. Have you told your husband? Not yet, she said. I've got it under control. The man asked if he had any suspicions. Nothing, she promised. He has no idea. He said, I hope you're right. She boasted that he would believe anything. All right, he gave in, she announced as she pulled up to the airport. All right, see you at the hotel tonight. I can't wait, he said. Love, goodbye. She ended the call by saying, bye-bye. Astonished by what he had heard, Jason gazed at the tape recorder. To make sure he hadn't misunderstood, he listened to the recording again. She had plans for their anniversary week that didn't involve him, so she wasn't just cheating. He swore to himself in frustration, wondering how long her affair had lasted and who her lover was. He grabbed a beer and sat at his desk thinking about what had happened. Had he missed the telltale signs? What else could she be hiding, he wondered. He felt obliged to look into it even though he had respected her privacy. He took the key from their jewelry box, knowing where she kept it, and went to her office in the spare bedroom. Betrayed, he went to the desk to look into it. He discovered a web of lies inside. Throughout their marriage, Karen had been dishonest with him. Surprisingly, her personal account had more than $250,000, which was significantly more than the amount they had decided to save. When he looked into her spending, he discovered expensive presents, such as a costly men's Rolex watch that was probably given to her lover. She also paid cash for visits to Planned Parenthood for feticides and expensive clothing, as evidenced by her purchases. He wondered about her regular use of birth control over the years and the paternity of the aborted pregnancies. He also found a receipt for some Plan B pills he had bought a few days earlier. There's more. Wondering if it would be her love nest or a way out, he discovered a recent receipt for a large down payment on an apartment in a wealthy area. He wondered whether one of the keys he discovered was for her new residence after seeing other receipts that showed payments for new furniture and utilities. He turned on her computer, determined to learn more, and discovered passwords conveniently listed beneath the keyboard. She was confident in her secrecy, as evidenced by the fact that her credentials were saved when he accessed her email. Surprisingly, he discovered conversations with Greg Wilson about their sex, which went back almost a year to the time he first became aware of her behavioral changes. They first met in hotel rooms before reuniting in homes she was trying to sell. He found some answers to his questions in one email from 6 months ago. Have you resolved that minor matter? Greg asked. Yes, Karen said. Today, I went to get infanticide. Greg said, it's a shame you didn't keep the baby. It might as well have been Jason's. That's not possible, she clarified. He believes that I am infertile. He would discover it wasn't his. When Jason thought back to 6 months ago, he realized that was when he first discovered she was lying. He thought to himself, damn. She is a dishonest and unfaithful woman. He went through each of their emails. Karen rejected Greg's suggestion that they make love in their marital bed. She wrote to Greg, I won't betray Jason like that fool has no idea, he said. She insisted, I won't do it. Greg suggested, what if you had your own place, your husband would have no idea, and you could afford it with your earnings. Perhaps you're right, she said. Jason never questions the fact that I have my own account. I will begin searching. 3 months have passed since then. The receipt for the down payment was a little more than a month old. she told Greg that she had gotten a condo. Next week, I'll be purchasing furniture after making a down payment. Jason doesn't know. Perfect, said Greg. There, we'll have a great time. Jason was taken aback by this information. He continued to read the emails. Greg said, "Why stay with your husband? Why don't you go and get a place of your own?" Karen said, "I care about him, believe it or not, even though he works as a brazen accountant for a chain of tire stores, I still feel something for him, and he treats me well. So that we could meet without having to worry about being exposed at hotels, I got the condo." "You're still married, too," Greg said. "I'll dump Christy if you just tell me. She is a pain in the neck." Karen said, "Let's see after the conference." Greg wondered what would happen after the conference. Jason started copying the receipts he had found and printing out Karen's letters. Karen's number appeared on the screen as he was finishing up. He said cautiously, "Hello. It's me, darling," Karen said. "Are you all right? You make a sound." He lied to avoid giving her away that he had a pounding headache. "Just getting settled for the night," she said. "Rest and take a headache medication." "I miss you and I love you," she continued. "Same here," he mumbled. "Goodbye." He hung up the phone, wondering if she saw that he was not using any loving language. He was actually fuming. He searched Karen's company website in an attempt to learn the truth about Greg and discovered that he was Greg Wilson, the regional manager. She did have a relationship with her boss. He printed the page and put it in his stack. He became increasingly agitated and considered breaking into her apartment. He paused as he looked up her address, wondering if there was a security system. He looked over her papers and saw a code that said, "Alarm System." He thought bitterly, of course she would write it down. In order to prevent leaving any evidence, he grabbed latex gloves from the garage and closed her laptop before leaving. He parked in her spot after spotting her complex and went to her door. He put on his gloves and tested one of the keys in her jewelry box. The door opened, and he stepped inside. When he saw the alarm remote, he entered the code he had learned and made sure the alarm was turned off. He turned on the light and looked around the apartment, appreciating Karen's furniture selections. He thought, she's always had good taste. It's a shame that her decor tastes don't align with her loyalty. Naturally, there were no photos of him. Her haven from their marriage was this love nest. He entered the kitchen and saw some dishes and cutlery. The pantry was bare and the refrigerator was empty. The house had a large flat-screen TV, flower portraits, and was surprisingly fully furnished. He went into the bedroom, which was similarly furnished, with lace curtains artfully hanging over the windows, right above the electric heater, which seemed to be a fire hazard. He opened drawers and found strange underwear, which led him to believe Greg was there because of men's underwear. He pulled out his phone and took pictures. Greg's card in the nightstand drawer confirmed his suspicions. "I appreciate the watch," it read. "I'm excited for your housewarming. Greg, love." Anger erupted. He pictured himself facing Greg. The dressing room was crowded with more clothes, men's and women's. He saw his and her towels next to the shower in the master bathroom, and 2 toothbrushes by the sink. He reached for his phone and took some more pictures. The only furniture in the second bedroom was a chair and a small desk. On the desk was a network cable, probably for her laptop. He made sure her name and address appeared in the photos amidst the letters that utility companies were sending her. Similar to the bedroom, the windows in this room were draped with lace curtains, which also covered the electric heater. He pointed out a number of possible fire hazards, such as the old smoke detector in the kitchen and the lack of one in the bedrooms. Did it even have a battery, he wondered. After making sure everything was as he had found it, he turned off the lights, turned on the security system, and left, making sure the door was locked. He thought about what to do next and went back to his car. Divorce was unavoidable. Even if she broke off her relationship with her lover and gave up the apartment, he couldn't trust her again. He hoped that her higher income would spare him from paying alimony because he knew that men often fare poorly in such circumstances. It seemed prudent to seek legal advice before moving forward. Additionally, he hoped that since she was the only owner of the apartment, he wouldn't have to give up their house or split the proceeds from its sale. Her covert purchase of the apartment made him feel as though she had abandoned him. He wanted revenge for their betrayal, but custody and support were not issues because he had no children. There was no room for violence. He didn't want to go to jail. When he got home, he looked through the phone book and saw an advertisement for Gregory Wilson. He dialed the number, hoping it was the same Greg Wilson. A woman's voice said, "Wilson Residence. Is Mrs. Wilson here?" He asked. She said, "Yes, it is." "To whom am I speaking?" The man introduced himself as Jason Chandler. "Your spouse works for Acme Real Estate as the regional manager." He confirmed. "Yes," she said, "he is. However, he will be visiting other offices next week after being away at a conference this weekend. You'll have to give the regional office a call and leave him a message." "Actually," Jason said, "I'd like to talk to you, Mrs. Wilson." "Oh," she said. "Yes," Jason added, "ma'am. I hate to inform you that your husband and my wife are having an affair." "Are you sure?" She asked. "That's right," Jason said, "and I can prove it." "Have you got concrete evidence?" She pushed. Jason said, "If you want. I can even show you where they meet up." Over the phone, he heard her sigh. "Do you think tomorrow would work?" She made a proposal. "Yes," Jason said. "What time works best for you?" She recommended that it be around 1 p.m. After giving her directions and Karen's apartment address, Jason said, "I'll see you then," and hung up. He smiled and went to his desk to start making a to-do list. He made sure to change the door locks first so that he could meet Greg's wife at Karen's house. He considered drowning his sorrows in alcohol, but he pushed the idea away. He considered his options and decided on a slice of cold pizza instead. Feeling content, he went upstairs and went to bed. He went to the hardware store early the following day to make an extra key for the apartment and buy materials to replace the locks. All locks were changed by noon. After taking a shower, he went to Karen's apartment to meet Greg's wife, grabbing his audio recorder and the printed emails from her account. When he saw Karen's car, he went up to a Toyota Corolla that had a pretty woman with dark hair sitting in it. "Are you Christy Wilson?" he asked, knocking on her window. He opened the door for her after she verified who she was. He motioned for her to put on the latex gloves he provided, saying, "Call me Jason Chandler, let's enter, I'll show you where they hide." He deactivated the security alarm as they entered by successfully unlocking the door with the spare key. After leading her into the bedroom, Jason pulled out drawers to show her Greg's wardrobe in the closet. "Oh my God," she said. "I've spent weeks looking for these. Where were his clothes going, I wondered. Has your spouse recently been wearing a Rolex watch?" Jason asked. She confirmed, adding that management had given it as a gift. Jason took a card from Karen's nightstand and showed it to her while shaking his head. She started crying as she read the note. "Does he have that handwriting?" Jason asked. She did cry. He turned on the audio recorder and showed the emails, saying, "But wait, there's more." She listened to the Friday recording after reading the emails with tears in her eyes. "I apologize," Jason said, holding her close while controlling his own feelings. "You're not to blame," she said. "I had a suspicion but no evidence." She turned to face him and composed herself. "What is the plan, then?" she asked. He said, "I'm going to file for divorce," and she vowed, "I'll throw him out the moment I see him." She suddenly became happier. "I've got an idea," she said. "What if we assist them in sharing this residence?" After giving it some thought, Jason grinned. He said, "I like it. But we must move quickly. They will return shortly." She disclosed that Greg had stated he would be out of town for a week following the convention. Karen will probably find an excuse to go as well. Jason swore, remembering the taped exchange. He said, "Damn, you're right, however, I need her belongings out of my house immediately." "Yes," she agreed. "In 3 hours, meet me back here." "That sounds good," Jason said. "I'll pack her belongings. I should be in the past now, see you then," she said as she stood up. Jason looked at her, impressed by her charm and small size. Why Greg would cheat on her was beyond his comprehension. 3 hours after leaving the condo, they arrived with their cars loaded with the couple's belongings. Since the cheating spouse would need hours to sort through everything, they didn't worry about the bags breaking when they dumped them in the second bedroom, which was sparsely furnished. "I'm not sure how you feel, but," she said. "I wasn't too careful with his stuff." Jason laughed. "Same here," he said, giving her a high five. "I don't know about you, but I'm hungry," he declared, glancing at her. "Me too," she said. "A juicy hamburger would be perfect for me right now. A huge cheesy one." "That sounds great," he said. "I am aware of the exact location. Would you like to come?" "My reward." "Take the lead," she said. She followed him to the bar where he and Ron often went. Christy parked and looked skeptically at the building. "A pub?" she asked. "Believe me," he said. "This place has the best burgers. You'll adore it." "All right," she agreed. "However, I hope you don't intend to take advantage of me by giving me alcohol," he reassured her, laughing. He joked, "As tempting as that sounds, I wouldn't do that." She laughed and joked, "Darn." They ordered burgers, fries, and beers inside and shared stories about their failed marriages while eating. Their stories were similar in that they met in college, got married quickly, and had different plans for having kids. When he asked if she was a certified public accountant, she said that she wasn't and that she hoped to become one someday. Jason talked about opportunities in his field and shared his professional background. He said, "If you give me your resume, maybe we can help each other out." She replied, "I can definitely do that, Mr. Chandler." As she bit into her burger, the moment was cut short when Karen's caller ID flashed on his cell phone. He replied, "Hello," in a neutral tone. Karen's drunken, slurred voice emerged. She chirped, "Hey, baby, what are you doing?" He said he was just getting a burger at the bar. "What's the matter with you?" "You know what?" She spoke without thinking. Before he could reply, she declared, "I won the Best Salesman Award." He flatly said, "Congratulations." "Yes," she added, "and they want me to stay in Vegas next week to work with their agents." It was a lie, as he already knew. "That's fantastic news," he pretended. "How about this Wednesday, our anniversary?" he reminded her. She said, "I know, and I'm sorry. Next weekend, perhaps, we can celebrate." "Don't worry," he said. "I know how important your work is. I don't want you to pass up a significant chance." "What is the intended meaning of that?" she asked. "Nothing," he dismissed it. "Just that we only celebrate our 10th anniversary once. However, I am aware that you value your work. Try not to worry about it. Indeed, work is important. However," she sighed, "I thought you'd be happy for me." "I am," he demanded. "Proceed to work with your agents. I'll be all right." "I adore you," she said. "Good," he said. "I agree. Goodbye." He turned to Christy and ended the call. "That's it," he told her. She gave a sympathetic shake of her head. She put a reassuring hand on Greg's and said, "She chose him over your anniversary." He suppressed his tears. More worried than his own wife was a man he hardly knew. What a letdown. "I apologize," she said. He tried to smile and managed to say, "Thank you." He took Jerry's card out and called his personal number. When the older man picked up, he said, "Jerry. This is Jason Chandler." Karen told me she would be in Vegas for another week when I spoke with her. You don't purchase it? Jerry asked. Jason affirmed, not for a second. Jerry added, I'll have my guys surveil them and see what happens, but I was just working on your report. We can move forward. They seemed to be having a good time as the conference came to an end a few hours ago. Tomorrow, the majority of attendees will be leaving for home. Oh, and last night was spent together by your wife and her lover. You might want to watch some of the footage I have. I'll send it to you via email as part of my report. That would be fantastic, Jerry, Jason said. Regards, he turned to Christy and ended the call. We'll get to the bottom of this tomorrow, he said. Those two lovers were spotted spending the night together by my PI. He is forwarding a video clip. Do you want to join me in watching it? Not really, she said. But I think I ought to, he gave an understanding nod. Well, he said, getting up, let's go to my place. They went to the bar to pay the bill and then left for his house. The video showed up in his email after he had arrived and settled into his office. Are you up for a drink before we begin? He extended an offer. Yes, she agreed. If you have cola. He said, I'll get 2 colas, and went to the kitchen. He came back with cold sodas and started the video, and they watched Karen and Greg perform various sexual acts. As they saw their spouses having fun together, Christy and Jason both found it difficult to control their emotions. Even more devastating was the pillow talk that followed. What do you think our spouses are doing at the moment? Karen asked. Greg retorted, if I know Christy, she's probably nose deep in one of her silly books or glued to one of her dull movies. Yeah, I understand, she said. I picture Jason poring over stock reports or buried in another one of his tiresome spreadsheets. Greg grinned. It would seem as though he is out here saving the world. Come on, for heaven's sake, his old man's business sells tires. What's so important? So, after tomorrow's awards banquet, have you made up your mind what you're going to say to that moron? Yes, she said. He'll accept it if I just say that I was asked to stay in Vegas for a week in order to cover for the local representatives. If I told him anything, he would believe it. The moon is made of green cheese, I could tell him. He would also purchase it. We'll be relaxing on a Hawaiian beach by the time he realizes it, Greg continued. I'm so excited to see you show off that brand new sling bikini you got. Christy burst out, Hawaii, she said. Some floozy is being whisked off to Hawaii by that idiot. I intend to tear his guts out. She looked over at Jason. I apologize for calling your wife a jerk. He said there was no need to apologize. The same thing, in my opinion. They turned back to the video. What about your anniversary, then? Will you simply ignore it? She said, Hawaii sounds much more appealing than a night at a steakhouse. I promise to compensate him. Perhaps I will. I might not, Greg looked at her. You realize how cold you are? He said. She gave a shrug. She clarified that it was only our 10th anniversary. There will be more. That doesn't matter to anyone. I need you right now. After saying that, they went back to their activities, which is why Jason stopped the video. I have seen a lot, he said. Have you? With tears streaming down her cheeks, Christy nodded. More than ample, she said. He revealed, I'm setting up a meeting with a divorce lawyer come Monday. Do you want to come with me? Do you mind? Softly, she inquired. Not at all, he said. Christy started crying uncontrollably. Jason gave her a reassuring shoulder by putting his arm around her. Even though he wanted to cry too, he refrained, choosing instead to comfort her while dealing with his own emotional problems. Do you mind if I stayed here overnight? She asked. Hanky-panky, no. All I want to do is cuddle. She explained. Of course, he said, you can stay. You can stay as long as you want, thank you, she said. It's unbelievable that I squandered so many years on that moron. I've been believing his lies all this time. I completely understand, Jason said. He led her to the master bedroom upstairs, where he discovered an old t-shirt that seemed long enough for her to sleep in. She took it and went to change in the bathroom. He waited for her to come back, then put on his pajamas and went to bed. He was almost surprised by her appearance when she came out of the restroom wearing the long t-shirt. Christie's legs were the thinnest he had ever seen, though he always appreciated Karen's. Slipping beneath the covers, she grinned. "What's the matter?" she inquired. "Have you never seen the legs of a woman before?" Jason said, "None as lovely as yours, sir," she teased. "Sweet talk will get you everywhere." He put his arm around her and pulled her in so he could smell her. Cuddled up against him, she put her hand on his chest. "Did you know that for more than a decade, you are the only woman I have slept with besides my wife?" He admitted it. "And aside from my husband, you're the only man I've dated," she disclosed. After what seemed like an eternity of staring into each other's eyes, they fell asleep in each other's arms. They awoke the following morning intertwined. She said, "Good morning, sleepyhead." As he got up to go to the restroom, she added, "You don't have to rush out on my account, beautiful." "Good morning," he replied. "I'll be short." Given his level of arousal, it was difficult for him to relieve himself in the restroom. When he got back, Christie was already cleaning the kitchen and getting breakfast ready, which included scrambled eggs and bacon. He looked at the clock and saw that it was 8:30 a.m. His eyes shifted back to Christie, relishing the moment as she prepared food while wearing his old t-shirt, briefly recalling the breakfasts Karen used to prepare for them. "Wow," he said, "that smells fantastic. I hope it's okay with you if I take over your kitchen." She said. He told her that it wasn't at all. "When was the last time I had breakfast prepared for me? Have you never had Karen cook for you?" she asked. "She used to," he admitted. However, she stopped a while ago, saying she needed to get ready for her clients and it took too much time. Christie mumbled, "Damn." "Exactly," he agreed. She set a heaping plate in front of him, and the smell of bacon filled the room. As though he hadn't eaten in weeks, he gobbled up the food with great hunger. "Whoa, that was incredible. Is this how you prepare meals every morning?" "Whenever possible," she said. The display of Jerry's name and number on his phone was interrupted. He said, "Hey Jerry. Now working on Sundays?" Jerry laughed. He said, "More often than I'd like. I wanted to give you an update. Just before 6 this morning, your wife and her lover left Las Vegas for their flight. They spent roughly 40 minutes in Los Angeles during their layover. And an hour ago, the plane took off. They will land in Honolulu in about 5 hours. If you need the flight information, I have it." "Yes," Jason confirmed. "They're on Flight 31 of American Airlines," Jerry added. "When they land, I have a contact in Honolulu who is prepared to follow them." "Thanks, Jerry," Jason wrote down the details. He hung up the phone and turned to Christie. "Well," he started. "This is the latest information. They are traveling to Hawaii." Karen took her seat as the aircraft rose. She watched them fly over the Pacific Ocean through the window. She thought to herself, "This is it." She looked to her left and saw Greg in the adjacent seat, already asleep. She closed her eyes and thought about the last 10 years. She experienced fleeting feelings of guilt for betraying her husband, who had faith in her. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew this was another bad decision. But she told herself that it was okay. She hoped that everything would work out without Jason ever knowing. Maybe they would stay married and eventually retire in peace as they grew older together. The first mistake she made was telling Jason she was infertile. She was, in fact, capable, but she had no wish to have children. Some people might find motherhood appealing, but not her. She therefore told Jason about alleged medical issues that required tubal ligation. He eventually gave his consent, but she had to stop using the IUD because of headaches and pelvic pain after issues with it developed. In order to avoid physical contact during periods of high fertility, she turned to traditional birth control pills and added the calendar rhythm method. She was largely successful, but she became pregnant twice. Her husband was involved in the first incident. She secretly had infanticide, paying for it privately, out of fear that his reaction would expose her early dishonesty and her reluctance to become a parent. Fortunately, they had set up separate accounts in addition to a joint one. She manipulated the arrangement, even though at first they agreed that she would contribute 10% of her earnings to the joint account. She could have paid for the feticide on her own without Jason knowing. About 6 months earlier, Greg became pregnant with her second child. She told her lover about it and decided to have another feticide, paying for it out of her own pocket in the hopes that Jason wouldn't find out. Her extramarital affairs followed. She stayed faithful to her husband for the first 7 years of their marriage. But one day everything changed when she met a client who was remarkably wealthy and attractive. She made a snap decision that she would never regret. They engaged in passionate, intense intimacy inside a lavish home she was showing off, and he showed his appreciation by buying the house outright. These interactions were rare, perhaps 10 times over the next year and a half. She later found that other people were doing the same things. For a moment she felt guilty, but then she thought, what the hell? Why couldn't she indulge if other women could do it without repercussions? It had nothing to do with Jason, in her opinion. What he didn't know wouldn't hurt her, and her love for him remained unwavering. Then she met Greg, and everything was different. He was everything that her husband was not. Greg was impetuous and made snap decisions, while Jason was analytical and carefully considered his options. Jason's life had been predestined, both personally and professionally. He continued to devote his professional life to his father's tire company, which led him to become CFO and eventually president and CEO. Greg's future, on the other hand, was unclear. While Jason thought about the future, he lived in the present and accepted each day as it came. In bed, their methods differed greatly. Jason put her enjoyment first, but Greg was more aggressive, shattering her. She was initially concerned about being discovered and telling Jason or Greg's wife, Christy, about their liaisons, which took place in discreet motels or homes they were selling. Then, when Jason expressed worries about their relationship, she turned away from Greg and temporarily redirected her love to her husband. But she became less determined, and Greg tried to make amends, but she was afraid Jason would find out about their liaison. She made the decision to buy her own apartment in order to reduce this risk and give herself and Greg a private haven. She still had feelings for Jason, even though he was a conservative person. She was able to leave with Greg while still receiving tax benefits because they chose to file their tax returns separately. She told herself it seemed like a win-win situation. As a result of these circumstances, she decided to pretend that she was on vacation with her husband following their business meeting and spend a week in Hawaii with Greg. Meanwhile, Greg, as was customary, told his wife about his next trip. She was sure that Jason would believe her when she told him that she was going to Vegas for a week. She was sorry for missing their 10th wedding anniversary, but she promised to make up for it when she got back, keeping her secret intact. She smiled as she looked down at the blue water, her mind wandering to Hawaii. Greg was excited to watch her undress and enjoy some beachside self-pleasure, so he bought a bold open bikini for their trip. She was tempted to give in to the urge immediately as the idea sparked arousal between her thighs. She looked at her phone, half expecting to see a message from Jason, half thinking of a secret bathroom meeting later. It didn't surprise her that he preferred phone calls or in-person interactions. Her lips formed a smirk. Turbulence was suggested by an abrupt shudder and shift in engine pitch. Dread began to creep in as the plane dipped and the engines changed tone. She recognized the seriousness of the situation as she looked out the window. Gravity pushed her into her seat as panic broke out in the cabin. Their descent was confirmed by the sight outside. With a wave of resignation, she thought, "Oh God. It's this. We're sinking. I will die." Masks of oxygen were put on. Greg was among the passengers who screamed as flight attendants prepared them for what was about to happen. With tears in her eyes, she stole a last look at her phone and made a final choice. After finishing breakfast and putting away the last of the dishes, Jason and Christy went back to the table to plot their strategies regarding their cheating partners. Jason felt a newfound intimacy with Christy that had been lacking with Karen for months, and he appreciated her analytical abilities. His phone buzzed, showing Karen's name and number as he brought a new cup of coffee back to the table. Setting it on speaker, he responded to Karen's terrified voice over distant cries and background noise. "Jace," she cried, her voice barely audible over the commotion. "Hey Karen, what's going on?" Straining to hear, he asked. "Sorry, plane, down." Before the call ended abruptly, her voice crackled. Christy and Jason looked at each other, stunned. It was pointless to try to call Karen again because the call went straight to voicemail. Jason turned to Christy and told her to call Greg. Christy hurried to get her phone out of her purse and called Greg, but it was also unanswered and went to voicemail. Jason turned on his computer and went to his home office to look for more information. He used a search engine to find the airline's number. Dialed it, and after being initially turned down, was able to speak with someone who confirmed they were looking into the plane crash reports. He left his and Christy's contact information, as well as Karen's and Greg's, and was promised that they would be informed of any developments. Since there was nothing more to look up online, he calculated that it would be at least an hour before they heard anything. They went to the front room and turned on the television to see if there had been any news. There was no breaking news when Jason flipped through the channels. He looked at his phone, thinking back on what had happened up to this point. Finally, but without giving any details, a news network flashed a report that an American Airlines flight headed for Honolulu had crashed in the Pacific Ocean. Christy cupped her hand over her mouth and cried out, "Oh, God." While silently praying for Karen's safety, Jason gave her a hug. He couldn't stand the idea of her dying, even though their marriage was strained. The phone rang an hour later. Jason responded while muting the television. A woman's voice asked, "Mr. Chandler?" "Speaking," he said. She relayed, "I'm calling to let you know that your wife's flight crashed. I don't currently have any more information, but we'll let you know as soon as we do." Jason said, "Thank you," and hung up. With tears in their eyes, he and Christy held each other. Christy received the same depressing news when her phone rang shortly after. His father called shortly after. It was not unusual. When he heard news like this, his parents would often get in touch. His father said, "Hey, Jace, how are you, Dad?" Jason answered, "I just returned from church. Have you watched the accident news?" His dad asked. "Yes," Jason said, "I did. It's terrible," his father moaned. "How is Karen doing, by the way?" "She was returning from Vegas, right?" Jason revealed, "Dad, she's not doing well. The plane that crashed had her on board." "What?" His dad let out a gasp. "How could she have traveled to Hawaii without you?" Jason revealed that she was with her boyfriend. His father reacted, "Oh my God. Son, I'm sorry to hear that. Give yourself a week to work things out. If there's anything we can do, let Mike know. Please just give me a call." "Thanks, Dad," Jason said appreciatively. His thoughts were racing with a range of emotions as he ended the call. He was deeply saddened by the thought that Karen was probably no longer with him. However, he was still angry at her betrayal and at himself for not confronting her. Ironically, he was unconcerned about the lack of divorce. But he was shocked to learn that he would be paying for Karen's last bills, including the apartment. "Damn," he muttered. He looked at Christy and wondered how she would handle it. What would she do? A thought came to him, and he went to her. "Christy," he said. "Why don't you move in with me and sell your apartment?" Tears filled her eyes as she looked him in the eye. "Are you serious?" she asked. "Of course," he said. "Upstairs is a spare room, and perhaps we can help one another through the difficulties that lie ahead." She thought for a moment, then answered. Why not? However, there is a requirement. What is that? He asked. I sleep in your bed, she said. Really? As Jason's mind raced, he became aware that things were happening more quickly than he had expected. He decided to take advantage of the situation, dismissing any doubts. Yes, he said. I haven't felt truly at ease with my husband in a very long time. I felt fulfilled for the first time in years last night. Is that okay? More than fine, he told her. Then, she said, it's settled. Jason nodded and said, I'll get my stuff from home and be back tonight. I will be here, he said. He called Karen's coworker Lucy after she left. Hello, she said. This is Jason Chandler, he said to Lucy. Oh, hello, Jason, she said. How is Hawaii doing? I don't know, he said, this time of year is supposed to be beautiful. Why? Lucy changed her tone. Karen said that following the company meeting, you two were going there. I thought you were on your way. As Jason explained, Karen did go, but not with me. Greg accompanied her. What? Lucy cried out. Surprised. That's correct, Jason said. But neither of them arrived. Today, the aircraft they were on went down in the Pacific Ocean. It may have been reported in the news. Lucy let out a gasp. Are you aware of her survival? I don't think any of them did, Jason said gravely. I sincerely apologize, Lucy said. I send my condolences, please. Additionally, all employees are covered by the company's life insurance. I will take care of the documentation, but I will require information from the airline. Are you able to supply them? Yes, Jason said, I will collect what I can. However, I have a query for you. What is that? Lucy asked. Did you know that Karen had an affair with Greg? Jason asked. I suspected something. Lucy acknowledged that there were rumors, but nothing specific. We don't usually discuss personal issues in the workplace, I know, Jason said. That's about it for now. I'll communicate, thank you, Lucy said. Once more, my sympathies. Christy and I were watching TV that night when a news report about the crash came on. According to the report, a crew member on a cargo airliner just a few miles from the crash site captured the last moments of the aircraft. An amateur video of the plane rapidly descending nose first was broadcast by the TV station. According to the report, the plane seemed to break apart when it hit the water. To help with the search for survivors, the cargo ship changed its direction. Unfortunately, no survivors were found despite the fact that they recovered multiple bodies from the water. A sizable quantity of luggage was also found, including items that belonged to Karen and Greg. But those recovered did not include their bodies. The months that followed were a blur of activity for Jason and Christy. Christy sold her home and moved in with Jason. Jason had to deal with Karen's apartment, which was worthless to him. So he gave it all to Goodwill, which took it with open arms. He later recovered Karen's initial investment when he sold the apartment. Acme Real Estate paid Jason and Christy $500,000 in insurance compensation for the deaths of their spouses. Without delay, they started to remove all traces of Karen from their lives. They replaced furniture, particularly the bed, put away trinkets, and threw away pictures. The remainder, which included 2 cars, was either sold, donated, or scrapped after family members took what they wanted. Jason handled the difficulties of closing Karen's bank accounts as well. Jason got a check for about $250,000 after months of paperwork. In an attempt to capitalize on the accident, attorneys came up to Jason and Christy. Subsequent analysis showed that the crew made poor choices and misunderstood computer warnings on board. The plane crashed into the water at about 135 miles per hour after descending at a rate of about 12,000 feet per minute for just over 3 minutes. Jason thought that Karen's final moments, which included some time spent on the phone with him, were terrifying. Given that she was speeding toward her death and had no chance of escaping, he thought her last action was one of regret. But it was too little, Too late, according to Jason. Thankfully, a settlement was reached between the airline and all impacted families, and each passenger received just over $175,000 in compensation. Together, Jason and Christy were given more than $1.6 million. Even after taxes, they still had a sizable amount. There was no funeral because neither Karen's nor Greg's remains were found. But primarily for their families. Jason and Christy planned memorial services. They did not weep for their departed husbands. Christy quit her job 3 months into her employment to live with Jason full-time. They had fallen deeply in love by that point. Jason proposed to Christy on one knee one evening while they were eating at a nearby roadhouse in Texas. She happily agreed, and the patrons around her applauded. She whispered to him, "It's time you turned me into an honest woman." "Why?" he inquired. "Because you will become a father," she disclosed. Jason was so happy that he kissed her all over. He said, "I love you more than anything," and she said, "And I love you even more. Just one thing." "What is it?" he asked. She begged, "Please don't ask me to fly anywhere." Jason laughed and gave her a tight hug. "My dear, don't worry," he reassured her.